Today I want to talk to you about elastic tables. This is Microsoft's answer to scenarios like IoT, where you are logging tens of millions of records per hour from different devices, traces, signals, and well, we thought as well because of this new feature that was introduced not that long ago into the Dataverse, the Power Platform ecosystem. Let's take a look at how to create an elastic table. I'm going to use the same solution that we saw in my last video on SharePoint webhooks. I recommend it. And well, you see we got already this elastic table. It says elastic here, and there are lots of differences between elastic and standard tables. Standard tables would be the normal tables that we would create in Dataverse. Now, elastic tables, behind the scenes, they are virtual tables. Now, let's picture it, because tables behind the scenes Dataverse, it's a bunch of resources, pretty well coordinated and built up in Azure. Now, normal tables, standard tables, think of them as SQL Server tables. So relational, transactional SQL tables that can have relationships between each other, between them, end-to-end, one-to-end, and you got plenty of indexing, filtering capabilities, and it's structured data, it's tabular data. Now for elastic tables, this is in reality Cosmos DB and no SQL, so no structured data that is stored in a different technology. This technology allows you to store massive information, but it has, well, nuances that so there are some things that we cannot do with that kind of data or the kind of technology versus normal tables. If you want to know more about that, there's the CAP theorem that explains why this is like that. So you can have consistency, availability, and partition tolerance all at the same time. This is, well, back from when I was at college. Pretty interesting topic. I won't bore you with that, but there's science behind that, why we cannot have all. Maybe with quantum technology, we don't know. But right now, technology is limited and we can have the three of them at the same time. But to create the table, what we are going to do is, well, advanced tables. There's another way of creating a regular table. And here in the type, we just have to set it as elastic table. Now, if we do that, we'll see that there is a bunch of things that we can no longer configure here. And this is pretty well documented in Create and Edit Elastic Tables in this page from the documentation, where it's going to tell you here the features that are not currently supported. And I wouldn't count on them being supported in the near future because of what we just discussed. This is a different technology, not SQL technology, and it really doesn't make sense to have, for example, end-to-end relationships. And what else? Well, business rules, business process flows. I don't know about that. I don't think this is the proper table where you would build something like that. So here it makes a pretty good case when to consider elastic tables. Basically, it talks about IoT scenarios, signals, maintenance predictions, things like that, where we need to get lots of traces, logs, signals to get some information into trends or whatever, or react to get alerts, things like that. Now, one of the cool things that I like the most from these types of tables is the automatic removal. So the automatic deletion of a record based on the time to live. So you configure how long it's going to be persisted a specific record, so that the system is going to automatically clear that to not eat up all your storage. Let's see how to configure this TTL, this time to live automation of the deletion of a record. If we go to the elastic table, let's jump into this elastic table that's already created. And if we go to the properties here, we're not going to see here where to configure this time to live property. And why is that? It's because time to live is configured per record, not for the whole table. And that's pretty actually a real good design choice because think of it, if you are storing events here, log traces, maybe not all the events are the same and you want to have different retention policies. So how long you are going to store that trace based on the type of trace. Maybe, I don't know, signals from this machine is not the same as from the other machine, and you want to have different times where that record is going to be retained. And here exactly, this is the column where you configure this. So when you create the record, or you can update it as well, you are going to configure this time to live. So for example, if here I have and change it to 4. Hit enter. Okay, 4 seconds. Let's refresh. It's gone. It's past 4 seconds and the system's automatically deleted the record. So you see how powerful this can be. Okay, the last thing that we need to know how to deal with is detect or react to changes. That is in how to trigger, for example, a Power Automate flow based on what's happened to an elastic table. And when you try to build a flow, for example, that when a new record in this table is created, you'll see that you don't get notified, you don't get the flow triggered. And why is that? That's because you need to create what it's called a virtual entity metadata. Let's open this record. This is very well explained here. Enable virtual tables to support Dataverse event. This is where you find out that an elastic table is in reality a virtual table. When we go here in the virtual entity metadata, what you do is configure here this a lookup table, a lookup column. When you create it, let's take a look. When you create it, here you can only select virtual tables. Let's go back, and basically this is the logical name of the table, and what you configure here is whether you want to get creation events, creation messages, deletion, update, and when you get notified, whether or not you want to get the columns that record has. Think that, for example, if you're storing here flexible schema with JSON, lots of data can be stored in a JSON column in here, because we're talking about NoSQL tables, as we mentioned in the beginning of the video. And maybe you don't want to get all that information because that's quite a lot of payload to get into a flow, for instance, where you don't need to process all that kind of information. You just want the notification that this happened. And well, you'll be thinking, why do I need to apply this additional step to get notified or plug a flow into this table? Well, the answer is that, and remember that what's the use case for these tables? These tables are designed to hold the creation of tens of millions of records per hour, and maybe you don't want to get a trigger per each of the records that have been created. And think of it that all the things that you get triggered in Dataverse when a row is created or deleted or any of those actions, behind the scenes there are what's called messages events in Dataverse in your environment. So your environment, your instance you're working with in Power Platform, it's getting all these events triggered automatically by the system when that kind of things happen. You can also create your own events. This is material for a different video, but that's basically when you create a new record, when you update it, delete it, etc. You are triggering, without knowing that, or behind the scenes, an event. So when you are creating tens of millions of records per hour, maybe you don't want to create all those events because you can maybe make the system, well, introduce a lot of latency and throughput into the system that you don't want. So that's why you have to create this additional step to log into these virtual table events. Well, thanks for reaching till the end. This was a shorter one, but I think it's pretty valuable because I haven't seen much content about elastic tables out there, especially not on YouTube, and I wanted to share these insights with you. If you want to learn more about what I'm learning or all the experiences that I'm getting from real projects and real conversations with clients on topics like real projects of implementation projects and also governance, just take a look at my website, submit your email, and I will be contacting you via email. And that's that. Thank you very much. Hope I hear from you soon. Leave a comment, thumbs up, subscribe, and well, see you in the next one.